100 Thieves is able to consistently sell out of multiple 6 figures worth of merchandise within minutes of dropping it. So today we're going to break down exactly how they do it and the lessons you can take away and apply to your own business as a content creator or a business owner in gaming and esports. So I don't know if you've ever tried to get 100 Thieves merch, but it is incredibly difficult. Maybe not as difficult as a brand like Supreme, but nonetheless, it is incredibly hard to get your hands on stuff. There was a drop a few weeks back of their Jam collection that perfectly illustrated this. I was able to get a hat from it actually, but I know a lot of people that weren't able to get anything. And like I said in the intro, there's a few reasons why they're able to create this sort of demand around their product. The first one being that they just limit supply. So it's basic economics. If there is a low supply, you're gonna have a higher demand for it. People know that it's gonna sell out. They know that if they wait even 5 minutes, they might not have a chance to get that piece of merch they want so badly. For example, the main piece in the Jam collection that dropped a few weeks back was this tie-dye red and black hoodie. Within seconds, it was gone. So the audience has been conditioned to believe that within seconds, their favorite piece of merch they want to get might be gone. So they're there, they're ready, they want to buy it. Now, low supply isn't enough. If you have a crappy product and low supply of it, no one's gonna buy it just because there's low supply. It has to be high quality, and that's the second reason why they're able to sell so much merch so effectively. The pieces they put out are just really nice, like that hoodie I was mentioning, the hat that I got. It's all very high quality product. So you can't just manufacture demand out of thin air by reducing supply if your product quality sucks. And they understood that. And I think the reason why they're so successful with this is because they didn't really start out as an esports organization. They started out as a lifestyle and apparel company. So they're really good when it comes to putting out high quality merchandise. Another way to think about this situation, think about Air Jordans. Let's say you wanted to get a pair. You want to get a pair of the Concord 11s or the Columbia 11s. Either one works for this example. It's pretty hard to get them and you want them really badly because you know there's not really that much in supply and they're really high quality. But if you think about another shoe in the Air Jordan supply chain, the Flight Club 93s, you can walk into pretty much any shoe store across the country and find it. And to be completely honest, I think you and I can both agree they don't look that good. So that's why 100 Thieves is so successful compared to some other organizations that have their merch constantly available throughout the year, and it might not be as high quality. Now, an interesting thing that we'll have to wait and see how this plays out is when the CDL season starts up and they have to put their merch in the shop. Because I wouldn't think that the CDL would let them just skip out on it to keep doing what they're doing with like the limited supply drops. I don't think it'll impact what they're doing with the limited supply drops because that type of merch is different than your traditional CDL, like caps and shirts and hoodies and stuff like that. So I think they'll still be able to keep that up, but that's a topic for a different day. Now, where it gets real interesting is their promotion strategy. So obviously 100 Thieves has a massive roster of content creators and they use them to promote their merch. So they're wearing their merch on streams, in their YouTube videos, they're talking about it. I can remember going back to before this most recent collection dropped a couple weeks ago, that's all that we're talking about. They kept bringing it up. Nadeshot kept tweeting about it. Other creators in the organization kept tweeting about it and talking about it in their videos, all this stuff. So it was constantly on top of mind. So the audience knew, okay, it's low demand, it's high quality stuff, I want it, and their creators won't stop reminding me about it. So it's always on top of my mind. And the reason why they're able to have so much success promoting with their creators versus promoting with just random celebrities and stuff like that is because of the platform they use. Most of their content creation roster is pretty active on Twitch or on YouTube gaming, so live streaming formats. And these live formats allow the creator to have a more intimate, close relationship with the audience. It's an interesting thing where you could be watching a creator that has millions of followers, but you almost feel like they're your friend. And if your friend is constantly talking about a product, constantly talking about something, you're gonna be interested and you're gonna be more likely to trust them that it's actually something worth checking out. So for example, if 100 Thieves were to somehow get Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson to promote their merch, sure, they'd probably benefit from it, and this might not be the best example, but it's still kind of a random out of left field promotion. Whereas their in-house content creators that have a combined millions of followers talk about it all the time. Their audience is already used to that. Their audience is already accustomed to them. They almost feel like they're their friends. So they're more likely to trust them. And this feeds into that demand of, oh, so-and-so is saying this merch is really good, so I want to go get this merch now. And then when you combine the low supply, the high quality, the promotion strategy using their content creators, the apparel they put out becomes something that the audience really wants. And when the audience really wants it, when they actually get their hands on it, it feels like sort of a status symbol, like, oh, I'm better than you because I got the new 100 Thieves hoodie. So it becomes more than just a piece of clothes. And again, you see this with brands like Jordan, with brands like Supreme, and these other clothing brands that do these sort of limited drops. So hopefully this is making sense so far. Before we get into how you can actually apply this, let me know in the comments down below if this is making sense, if you have any questions, and also, have you bought any merch from an esports organization? And if so, what made you want to buy it? Because I'm actually legitimately curious to hear what made you go with that buying decision. Like, okay, I'm actually gonna get this merch. Was it because you wanted to support the organization? Was it because of the whole status symbol thing like I was talking about? What were your thoughts on that? Let me know in the comments below. So now, as far as how you can apply this in your own business as a content creator, as a business owner selling a product or a service in gaming and esports, it's pretty simple. The first thing is you actually need to create a product that your audience wants to buy, something worth selling, something high quality, like we talked about a few seconds ago. If you don't do that, you're just kind of yelling into a void and no one's gonna wanna buy your product. So before you sell anything, make sure it's relevant to your audience. And for some people, this might mean you don't sell apparel, you sell something different. For example, Emma Chamberlain, not really in gaming and esports, but in the creator space as a whole, she sells coffee. And that makes sense because in her videos, she talks about coffee literally all the time. So it's very on brand for her. Now, as a younger creator, maybe you don't have as large of an audience or you don't have as much capital. Obviously, 100 Thieves got quite a bit of investments, like 35 million plus worth of investments. If you don't have that, which most of us don't, merch in the form of apparel tends to be a pretty straightforward entry point. I don't want to say easy because selling merch is not easy, but it tends to be a much more straightforward entry point than other things like coffee or any other product you might consider selling. It's just something to consider long-term. I would think about what you can sell other than apparel that's relevant to your brand. But as you're first getting started, and if you have audience members that wanna support you, merch in the form of apparel tends to be a pretty straightforward entry point. And then as far as promotion, you might not have the millions of audience members that the 100 Thieves content creators have as a whole, but what you can do, what we can take from this is you can engage with them actively, whether it's on your Twitch stream, whether it's on Twitter, whether it's both, which it should be both. You should be spending time in the replies on Twitter. You should be spending time engaging with your chat on the Twitch stream. So you got to engage with your audience because at a certain point, when you do sell, you want to make sure your audience is in a place to support you. If you're just ice cold and don't really talk to your audience, don't really engage with them, and all of a sudden you're like, buy my stuff, they're not going to be as open to that. And if you do this right, you can actually get to a point where your audience actively asks you when you're going to be selling merch, when they can buy stuff to support you. And that's the ideal situation. That's how you know you're ready to sell merch. So actively engage with your audience. What I like to do personally is engage on Twitter. I'm not really super active on Twitch yet, but on Twitter, I spend time engaging with people that I'm following, engaging with people that reply to my tweets. So they know I'm paying attention, they know I care, they know I'm active, and I'm not just ignoring them. And right now I don't have anything to sell, but at some point, if I do, it'll be a lot easier to do that if I have an actively engaged audience. And then of course you might want to consider limiting supply. Again, I wouldn't go the 100 Thieves route or the Supreme route of trying to sell out of every drop. If you're big enough, you might be able to pull that off. But when you're first getting started out, I wouldn't really go that route. I would just get used to putting out high quality stuff. And when your audience is used to that high quality stuff, then maybe limit supply because they actually want the stuff. But if you start off with an extremely limited supply and it's kind of mediocre apparel or mediocre merch, you're not really gonna have that same effect. So just consider that. Also on the promotional side of things, consider collaborations. Although the 100 Thieves creators didn't really collab outside of the group, they did send some merch to other creators, but they didn't really go heavy with collaborations in promoting this. They kind of collaborated within their content creator roster. You, as an independent content creator, can collaborate with other content creators. So whether that means wearing your merch when you go on someone else's podcast, wearing your merch in your videos, wearing your merch whenever you're interacting with other people, like getting it out there as much as possible organically, that's gonna help you get more eyes on it. And again, if it's high quality stuff, you might get some people that are interested in buying it. So if this makes sense, be sure to drop a like down below and subscribe for new videos every single Monday at 6:30 a.m. Pacific time for videos like this on marketing concepts in gaming and esports. And again, to recap, the first thing they did, 100 Thieves did to sell their product, limit supply, high quality product, use their content creators to promote it across different platforms to millions upon millions of people. And the combination of those three things makes their merch a sort of status symbol that you really want to wear. It kind of shows you're different, you're special because you were able to get your hands on some coveted 100 Thieves merch. So hopefully that makes sense. Again, drop that like down below and I will see you in that next video.